Elisha, the siege of Samaria. Sometime later, King Ben-Hadad of Syria led his entire army against Israel and laid siege to the city of Samaria. As a result of the siege, the food storage in the city became scarce. People were starving. Any food left was being sold at ridiculously high prices. One day, the king of Israel was walking by the city wall, when a woman cried out, "Help me, your majesty." He replied, "If the Lord won't help you, what help can I provide? Have I got any wheat or wine? What's your trouble?" After this, the king tore his clothes in dismay, and the people who were close to the wall could see that he was wearing sackcloth under his clothes. He exclaimed, "May God strike me dead if Elisha is not beheaded before the day is over." And he sent a messenger to get Elisha. Meanwhile, Elisha was at home with some elders who were visiting him. Before the king's messenger arrived, Elisha said to the elders, "The king is sending someone to kill me. Now when he gets here, shut the door and don't let him come in. The king himself will be just behind the messenger." He had hardly finished saying this when the king arrived and said, "It's the Lord who has brought this trouble on us. Why should I wait any longer for him to do something?" Elisha answered, "Listen to what the Lord says. By this time tomorrow, you will be able to buy things for cheaper prices in Samaria, the 3 kilograms of best wheat or 6 kilograms of barley for 1 piece of silver." Then the personal attendant of the king said to Elisha, "That can't happen, not even if the Lord himself were to send grain at once." Then Elisha replied, "You will see it happen, but you will never eat any of the food." 4 men who were suffering from a dreaded skin disease were outside the gates of Samaria, and they said to one another, "Why should we wait here until we die? It's no use going into the city, because we would starve to death in there. But if we stay here, we will also die. So let's go to the Syrian army camp. The worst they could do is kill us, but maybe they will spare our lives." So, as it began to get dark, they went to the Syrian camp, but when they reached it, they saw no one was there. The Lord had made the Syrians hear what sounded like the advance of a large army with horses and chariots, and the Syrians thought that the king of Israel had hired Hittite and Egyptian kings and their armies to attack them. So that evening the Syrians had fled for their lives, abandoning their tents, horses, and donkeys, and leaving the camp just as it was. When the 4 men reached the edge of the camp, they went into the tent, ate and drank what was there, grabbed the silver, gold, and clothing they found, and went off and hid them. Then again they returned, entered another tent, and did the same thing. But when they said to each other, "We should not be doing this. We have good news and we should not keep it to ourselves. If we wait until morning to tell it, we are sure to be punished. Let's go at once and tell the king's officers." So they left the Syrian camp, went back to Samaria, and called out to the gods at the gates, and said, "We went to the Syrian camp and did not see or hear anybody. The horses and donkeys have not been untied, and the tents are just as the Syrians left them. The gods announced the news, and it was reported in the palace. It was still night, but the king got out of bed and said to his officials, "I will tell you what the Syrians are planning. They know about the famine here, so they have left their camp to go and hide in the countryside. They think that we will leave the city to find food, and then they will take us alive and capture the city." One of his officials said, "The people here in the city are doomed anyway, like those that have already died. So let's send some men with 5 of the horses that are left, so that we can find out what has happened." They chose some men, and the king sent them in 2 chariots with instructions to go and find out what had happened to the Syrian army. The men went as far as the Jordan, and all along the road they saw the clothes and equipment that the Syrians had abandoned as they fled. Then they returned and reported to the king. The people of Samaria rushed out and looted the Syrian camp. And as the Lord had said, 3 kilograms of the best wheat or 6 kilograms of barley were sold for 1 piece of silver. So it so happened that the king of Israel had put the city gate under the command of the officer who was his personal attendant. The officer was trampled to death there by the people and died, as Elisha had predicted when the king went to see him. The officer saw the food but did not taste any of it.